The House Chairperson.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 36, Small Business Development Appropriation Bill.
I will now recognize the Minister of Small Business and Development.
Libongwe.
Deputy Ministers, members of the Portfolio Committee, Deputy Minister of our portfolio, the Director General, board members and other officials from our portfolio, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday marked a sobering yet inspiring moment of national reflection for our country as we celebrated 70 years since the adoption of the Freedom Charter. On the 26th of June 1955, people from across racial, gender, class and religious lines gathered in Kliptown. And they did this to articulate a vision for a just, democratic and inclusive South Africa, a direct opposite of apartheid. Among its many bold declarations, the Charter asserted that the people shall share in the country's wealth, a clarion call that has not yet been fully realized. But as government, we remain inspired by the significant progress that we made in realizing a more equitable and just society. The Freedom Charter remains our lodestar. Chairperson, in his address, President Ramaphosa reminded us of our central mission to create jobs, reduce poverty, and improve the lives of all South Africans. This budget vote further takes place as we conclude the Youth Month, a time that commemorates the bravery of young South Africans who altered the course of our history in 1976. Today, another generation stands poised to shape our country's future through entrepreneurship, innovation, and economic participation. Whilst this being the case, too many of our young people languish on the margins of the economy, excluded from meaningful participation in a system into which they were born. Honorable members, this budget vote therefore reflects our unwavering commitment to that noble cause. As such, we are focusing our efforts on building a more inclusive, efficient, and high-impact MSME support system, one that empowers our youth, women, and people with disability, especially in townships and rural areas. We're instituting a new service delivery model to better position the department to lead the ecosystem. Aligned to this, we are scaling and integrating our offerings to achieve greater impact and value for money. As the Minister of Finance says, we must do more with less. We move from the premise that the small enterprise support ecosystem has legislative and policy gaps. To this end, we are working faster to close those in ensuring that we remove the constraints and create a conducive environment for MSMEs and cooperatives to thrive. Accordingly, the National Small Enterprise Act, which has led to the establishment of two key instruments, the Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency and the Office of the Small Enterprise Ombuds, that must provide recourse and fairness for small enterprises in our ecosystem. We await Parliament to finalize this process, as Section 17A gives that authority to the members of the Portfolio Committee. And on our side, we've already appointed the staff that we need to appoint, and we're finalizing process towards the appointment of the deputy ombuds. And it is important, Honorable Webster, that you familiarize yourself with these responsibilities as per the law that is passed by Parliament. Additionally, we have our funding policy approved by Cabinet, and we are now working with partnerships to establish an alternative credit rating system, as well as a movable asset registry to address the lack of collateral amongst MSME borrowers. The current risk assessment models used by financiers, your audited financial statements, the credit history and collaterals are not suitable for small businesses as they are mainly designed for big businesses. And with an alternative credit data model, we can ensure that financiers are able to use alternative data like bill payments, e-commerce activity, mobile money transactions, and many other ways to foster financial inclusion for the majority of our entrepreneurs. Our funding policy also called for the establishment of the Fund of Funds, which now we are working with the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to establish the Transformation Fund. And this will be a game changer on financing small and medium enterprises. And all we have to do is to make sure that we improve our efforts towards funding readiness for entrepreneurs. Through SIDFA, our partnership with the JSE on capital readiness and investment matchmaking is also being scaled to reach more entrepreneurs, particularly in under-resourced areas. Chairperson, we have recently approved the National Business Licensing Policy and are now finalizing the Business Licensing Bill in order to simplify business licensing, introduce preferential licensing for targeted empowerment and promotion of previously disadvantaged groups in economic activities for specific sectors of our country. The Deputy Minister will talk in detail on this and the areas on cutting the red tape. As we solidify the MSME policy landscape, we're also finalizing the National Entrepreneurship Strategy, which seeks to embed an entrepreneurship culture and recognize entrepreneurs and innovators as key drivers and agents of socio-economic development. It is focused on the individual entrepreneur and their needs at different stages of development, from the informal street trader to the high-growth scale-up. The last policy initiative I would like to draw your attention to is the Township and Rural Economic Development Revitalization Policy, which we'll be taking to Cabinet this quarter. The policy will enable a more consolidated approach by government when it comes to supporting township in rural and township areas, especially with the cooperatives. The policy calls for the creation of vibrant township and rural small business hubs, which will require a more coordinated approach by the three spheres of government around zoning, business licensing, infrastructure provisioning, and investment. To this regard, this morning I had a meeting with MEC Maile of Gauteng and MEC Lingumbane of Northwest to find ways of collaboration towards refurbishing existing industrial parks like Bebilege. We continue to engage with other provinces on this. Chairperson, we are confident that these legislative and policy interventions will make the ecosystem more coherent and ensure that more MSMEs are better served, especially those owned by the vulnerable groups. Policy reform alone is not enough, honorable members. These reforms must be underpinned by a capable, responsive, and integrated service delivery model. This brings me to the second model, which we are busy with as the department. 2.5 years ago, we developed the National Integrated Small Enterprise Development Framework, which gives us the mandate to lead and coordinate the ecosystem and ensure accountability from all stakeholders and role players. To ensure this accountability, we are developing a robust monitoring and reporting framework for all ecosystem players, which is to be presented to Cabinet this year. We are also establishing internal research capability and undertaking sector-specific value chain studies to inform targeted interventions in productive sectors of our economy. Furthermore, we've created a research think tank to support evidence-based policy, as well as a formal partnership with the Deans of Commerce from all higher institutions of learning. We're also finalizing the appointment of a new small business advisory body. We've improved significantly on performance. From 2021-2022, wherein we achieved 60%, to 24-25, wherein we are at 88%. We're now moving beyond targets towards impact-driven performance. Honorable members, performance is directly linked to governance. Our new service delivery model compels us to be more strategic, outcomes and impact focused. This means targeting sectors and industries where there is market demand and room for MSME growth and expansion. It means specially integrating our limited resources across our various offerings. And this is why we'll be focusing all our efforts towards establishing small business hubs in this financial year. I will also focus on our product and service offerings. We have ambitious targets as our contribution to government's MTDP targets of achieving above 3% growth and reducing unemployment to below 28%. We know that this has to be done through supporting 1 million MSMEs with both financial and non-financial support. And this, we believe, we will do through direct delivery and strategic partnerships that we're engaged with all the ecosystem players. Already, we are working with different departments. Although we have set aside a target of 2.1 billion rands that needed to be disbursed to entrepreneurs, we are proud to announce that we've spent about 3.2 billion rands, which has been provided to more than 165,000 entrepreneurs. Looking towards the year ahead, Honorable Chairperson, I will speak to three priorities of focus. The expanded entrepreneurship finance package. We will establish the Youth Entrepreneurship Fund, which we are recapitalizing with 300 million rands. And we know that there we have to harness the creativity and innovation of young people. We'll also be launching the Women Entrepreneurship Fund, which again will be recapitalized with 300 million rands. And of course, we will separate SIDFA's financial offerings into a development fund for new entrants and higher risk borrowers and a commercial fund for growth-ready MSMEs. We are allocating 990 million rands for approvals for development fund, 330 million for approvals for the commercial fund. We are allocating 979 million rands of value of credit guarantees that must be taken up by small enterprise borrowers. These credit guarantees remain an important part of our offerings, leveraging banks and non-bank financial institutions to take on MSME borrowers that are above their ordinary risk tolerance. This has been significantly more investment, still more investment by banks and other financial institutions for new entrants in agriculture, agro-processing, automotive, and other services. On township and rural economic development, we'll be building the small business hubs that I spoke about earlier, and we'll have 50 small hubs in 50 townships. This we do again because we have to provide a one-stop shop center for our entrepreneurs, including bringing SIDFA offices and personnel in those townships so that we avoid our entrepreneurs having to drive and go to the towns. We will be supporting 50 ISPs, your internet service providers, as we understand the importance of providing affordable broadband to entrepreneurs, but also ensuring that we bring in new owners in the digital infrastructure that our people have never enjoyed. For all this work, we have budgeted 958 million rands over the MTF, with 310 million for this year, and an addition 253 million rands that will come from SIDFA. Again, on IMDP, in terms of the informal support, we will provide support to 50 informal traders in 50 townships, 50 informal traders in 50 rural areas, and this we do specifically because they too cannot be left behind. As a result, 112 million rands have been set aside. For township and rural enterprise financial support, we're allocating 543 million rands, and on asset assist, we are allocating 630 million rands, 206 million rands for this financial year. On the cooperatives, we are providing 100 million rands for this financial year, and we will add 125 million rands for the SPAZA support. On business development and market access, we are providing 142 million rands, which will go towards support to 45,000 entrepreneurs. We continue to advance the work on global or the G20, wherein we'll be hosting a conference in July, the Startup 20 and the Global SMME Conference. I hereby present our 25-26 financial year budget of 2.918 billion, which is primarily directed towards transfers and subsidies, which accounts for 84% or 2.450 billion rands, with the remaining 16%, which is spread between compensation of employees at 265 million, with goods and services accounting for 197 million and capital at 6 million. Of the 2.450 billion for transfers and subsidies, SIDFA receives 1.9 billion, which is 77.9%. The department manages the remaining 542.6 million, which accounts for 22%. These budgets, honorable members, reflect our unwavering commitment to the spirit of the Freedom Charter. We are building a more inclusive economy that enables youth, women, and communities in townships and rural areas to participate meaningfully in shaping South Africa's future through MSME development. And of course, as the African proverb says, if you want to go fast, walk alone. But if you want to go far, walk with people. As we walk together, we will undoubtedly reach our destination sooner rather than later. I therefore table budget vote 36 of our department.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I will now recognize Honorable Sapo.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable Chair, when the Department of Small Business Development was established in 2014, South Africa has approximately 2 million MSMEs operating in our economy. And currently, we have around 3 million MSMEs across the country. The difference in the number of MSMEs from the inception of the department and now shows the progress that has happened under the department and the importance of the department itself. This annual budget vote presents a comprehensive overview of the Department of Small Business Development financial allocation, planned expenditure, and strategic priorities for the coming fiscal year. To us, it serves as a crucial accountability document informing Parliament, stakeholders, and the public about how allocated funds are going to be used to support MSMEs across the country. As the ANC, we are content with the budget, but we're also of the view that the current budget allocated to the department is not sufficient to fully meet the developmental needs of the MSMEs and cooperative sector. This is due to high limited financial resource constraints and its ability to implement large-scale and high-impact programs. Given these constraints, there is a pressing need for qualitative and impactful expenditure to ensure that every rand is used efficiently with targeted interventions which yield measurable outcomes. This includes prioritizing support for high-potential enterprises, strengthening ecosystem partnership, and improving monitoring and evaluation systems. Therefore, the department is urged to align its expenditure with transformative goals such as rural and township development, youth entrepreneurship, and digital inclusion. To take into consideration that MSMEs are the engines of economic growth and the only sector that has ability for massive job creation. The ANC acknowledges the department projected 95% expenditure as a positive improvement from previous trends, reflecting effective use of resources and effective departmental performance that benefits the sector. However, we remain concerned about the delay in finalizing the MSMEs and cooperative funding policy, as access to funding remains a key barrier for small business growth. While the policy was previously gazetted for public comment, it is still not yet concluded. We are also of the view that the SETFA Capital Management Program, which focuses on mobilizing external funding through strategic partnership, should be clearly reflected in the policy. Therefore, the finalization is very crucial for improvement financial support for small businesses. There are, of course, notable policy gaps between Department of Small Business and National Treasury, which necessitate regular and sustained engagement. This highlights the importance of ongoing collaborations to ensure that policy objectives are well aligned and effectively implemented. Given that both these two departments plays a key role in shaping national policy, their mandates are frequently intersect beyond confines of national budget processes. The department must effectively implement the red tape reduction initiatives to enable MSMEs and improve business environment. Honorable Chair, the BBBEE policy remains a transformative tool. It's designed to address historical economic inequalities by promoting economic inclusion and advancement of Black people. It aims to transform the South African economy by encouraging business to actively participate in the inclusion of Black people in ownership, management, and skills development. Hence, those who seek to tamper with it will be definitely challenged, and we shall not allow anyone to reverse the gains of our democracy. Yes, we see that the DA is trying their luck. We shall meet them, and they will be challenged as such. We are, of course, concerned about the prolonged delay in tabling the Business Amendment Bill, which remains outstanding for years after its review commenced. The department is urged to submit the bill to Parliament by the end of the third quarter. Failing this, the committee may consider initiating the amendment process itself under the Rule 276 of the National Assembly rules, as it was previously done with the National Small Business Act. The ANC support the report. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I will
Malibongwe.
now recognize Honorable Mafahane.
Greetings, Honorable Chair, honorable members. The MK Party stands in a revolutionary defiance of broken promises, one made by the Department of Small Businesses, which was meant to drive an inclusive economic growth and job creation. Yet, despite billions in allocation over the years, our people remain sidelined, strangled by red tape and trapped in cycles of township poverty. The 2025-2026 Annual Performance Plan and Strategic Plan offers a polished narrative of supporting MSMEs, cutting red tapes and enabling market access. But on the ground, the reality is
Honorable
starkly
Mafahane,
different.
there's a request that can you please put your mic closer to your mouth? Yeah, honorable members cannot hear you. Yes, thank you.
Sorry. The 2025-2026 Annual Performance Plan and Strategic Plans offer a polished narrative of supporting MSMEs, cutting red tapes and enabling market access. But on the ground, the reality is starkly different. Inefficiencies, exclusion, and hollow slogans. While the National Development Plan aspires to create 11 million jobs by 2030, which would reduce unemployment rate by 6%, the Department of Small Business Development continues to operate in isolation, lacking coordination across government spheres. It is now widely acknowledged the Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act of 2005 is not just underused, it is systematically ignored. We are told that businesses can now be registered within 24 hours. But what good is that for a young entrepreneur in Limangeni or Senobarwana or in Guguletu who cannot afford a 500 rand for a bid document or to travel hundreds of kilometers to attend compulsory briefings when virtual briefings could have been offered? These exclusionary procurement practices are more than just obstacles. They are deliberate acts of economic sabotage against Black enterprises. Even the Department of Small Business officials, including SETFA, have admitted that many MSME remain unreached, especially in townships and rural areas, due to limited visibility and poor engagement. Worse still, intermediary masquerade as support networks offering functions like loan sharks, charging vulnerable MSMEs inconsistent and exploitative interest rates. Meanwhile, the Department of Small Business track record in delivering support is dismal, with growing gaps between planned targets and fulfilled vacancies continue to cripple service delivery. Despite claiming alignment with the NDP, the Department of Small Business 2025-2026 budget reflects a paltry 1.3 increase, far below inflation rate and hollow insufficient for meaningful transformation. Analysis warns of underfunding and duplication and insufficiency. The FFC has also raised alarms, urging improved coordination to better support informal businesses, township entrepreneurs, and rural enterprises. Comrades, the MK Party demands nothing less than a radical overhaul of the system we propose, eliminating bid fees for MSMEs and mandating virtual briefing session for all tenders, creating an unified MSMEs digital portal that integrates CIPC, SARS, UIF, and CIDP on one window for all services, creating one-stop business hubs in our townships and rural areas, establishing a township and rural enterprise fund controlled directly by cooperatives and communities, councils, and not banks, redirecting condition grants towards community-owned business hubs with transparent public audits, implementing performance-based budgets where failures results in dismissal, not a quiet reappointment. We must stop recycling consultants and start investing in Black working class businesses. We reject a DSBD that shelters elite incubators while sidelining street-level entrepreneurs. We reject the illusion of transformation that leaves the poor begging at the gates of the state that they finance. We do not merely oppose this budget vote. We reject the neoliberal framework that sustains it. The MK party calls for a revolutionary, people-centered state that dismantles gatekeeping and transfer powers and resources to masses. Umkhonto weSizwe Party reject this budget. Thank you.
Siyabonga, comrade. I will now recognize Honorable Kruger.
Chairperson and Minister, small business matters. I'm not only debating Vote 36 budget today, but I also tabling a petition for economic freedom, for the dignity of work, and for the aspirations of millions of entrepreneurs who refuse to be broken by a system that was supposed to support them. We stand at the crossroads of resilience collapse. In the heart of every township, every rural village, every town or every metro, there are South Africans with fire in their hearts and ideas in their minds. Still, their pockets are empty and they are trapped. Trapped not by the lack of ambition, but trapped by red tape, choking regulations, broken promises, and bureaucratic failure. Small businesses are not small in value. They generate 60% of our jobs and represent the single greatest hope of 20 million South Africans currently excluded from our economy. However, they are suffocated by a state that claims to support them while burdening them with devious regulations based on outdated policies and neglect. Since 2014, this department has introduced only one piece of reform legislation to address the issue that stifles our small businesses. However, the Democratic Alliance has not sat idle by. We have tabled not one, but 3 private members' bills to reduce red tape and establish a genuine small business ombud. Nevertheless, the process to appoint the ombud was compromised. Instead of focusing on solutions that allow rural entrepreneurs, the informal sector and cooperatives to grow, they receive little more than symbolic gestures. The department promised to support 100,000 township and rural enterprises. But where are they? The craft sector has been neglected. The global market exposure program has stagnated. Yet billions are spent without clear job creation targets, without performance metrics, and without accountability. Chairperson, we cannot fix a 60% problem with a 10% budget and zero political will. That's why, Chair, we welcome the Deputy Minister's mission to revive the township and rural economy, especially in townships industrial parks and have remained neglected for so long. The Deputy Minister has injected new political will into small business development. Make no mistake, the GNU commitment must remain unshaken. It must convey the message in this country.
Honorable members, let us not drown the speaker on the podium.
The GNU must convey the message in this country. A small business matters. Chairperson, regulatory compliance cost is a killer for small businesses. According to a report by SARS, you must listen, you will get educated. According to a report by SARS, small businesses in South Africa are required to comply with over 100 different regulations. The DA Startup Nation plan transforms the small business ecosystem. It's not a dream, it's tested by practical blueprint. It incorporates one-stop shops, digital platforms, and business starter toolkits. It features a financial system that reflects best practices in the world. And yes, it includes extensive red tape and regulatory reforms. We further believe a genuine independent small business ombud is much needed in South Africa. These are not theories. This is what we are doing in the Western Cape. Our employment rate is more than 10 percentage points lower than the national average. 4 out of every 5 jobs created in the past 5 years are created in DA areas. South Africa deserves a government that believes in its people's potential and recognizes that small business matters. Honorable members, the day of survivalist rhetoric are behind us. Now is the moment for courage. Let us unite in this house as true patriots. Let us move beyond politics and consider the young entrepreneur in line, holding a dream in one hand and a rejected application in the other. Let us have the audacity to declare, you matter, your business matter, your future matter. Let's build a nation that fosters entrepreneurship
Honorable Kruger,
rather than suppressing
your
it.
time is expired.
Let's measure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I will now recognize Honorable Matulelwa.
Greetings to our Commander-in-Chief, Commissars and Fighters. Chairperson, see economic freedom fighters, say reject le report budget. Okokuqala nje le 1.2 le 2.7 billion ayonelanga ukusungula nokuphuhlisa wonke amashishini akhasayo. As enterprises, integrated cooperatives, nama micro enterprises development, zizonke ne-innovations zabelwe kuphela i2.849 billion engacacisiyo minister into yokuba eyabantu abangomama imalini, abaphila nokhubazeka imalini nabantu abatsha. Lo mnyango wamashishini akhasayo uphinda into enye kwi-APP reports kubo bonke abanyakamali yaye akazihoyi izikhalazo ze-portfolio committee. Sicacisile amatyela amaninzi into yokuthi maziphele yaye zivalwe i-middleman's model abazibiza ngokuthi zi-intermediaries, wholesale lending, incubators ezithatha 1.6 billion yonke kule madlana engonelanga kwaye bayirhwaphilize. Lilonke imali esingathetha ngayo apha minister yi-300 million kuphela. Ungawusungula uwaphuhlise njani amashishini akhasayo nge-300 million only? Urhulumente onjani ongawaziyo amashishini akhasayo kuba mangaphi ewonke waye adinga malini? Lo rhulumente wonyuse i-fuel levy ngokungekho semthethweni. ethwaxa wona lamashishini akhasayo imihla yonke. Isabelo se-200 million ekuthiwa ye-administration yeyantoni na minister xa bonke abantu be-actor kungekho mntu uqashwa permanent? U-82 million ye-sector policy and research yeyantoni xa sizawuthi siwupasisile umthetho uchairperson we-portfolio committee awudicilele phantsi ngokunyanzelisa ukufaka a corrupt individual kwi-ombuds office emva kwamawaka erandi achithiweyo kwi-interviews ne-travelling ne-accommodation costs of each individual who attended the interviews. Sithe isebe malicacise kokuba lizoba sapota njani osomashishini abakhasayo ukuze badlale indima umnotho ngokwakha nokusapota millions of enterprises ukusuka ngonyaka ka-2025 ukuya ku-2026. Aba bantu bonke lento yonke esithetha ngayo iza kudinga ibhanka likarhulumente elinjongo zalo ikukuphuhlisa ngokwezimali ne-support mechanisms. Sifuna urhulumente oza kuqinisekisa kwaye akhokhele uphuhliso lwezoqoqosho olukhulu, olukhuselekileyo noluzinzileyo kunye nokwahluka kwamashishini ukuze kudalwe amashishini namathuba emisebenzi kulo nyaka mali. Oku kwenzeke ngokushishina okuqhutywa ngurhulumente, ukwahlulwa kwamashishini akhasayo kunye nabantu abaqeshwayo kwishishini ngalinye. Sifuna yonke lento yenzeke minister ngenkxaso-mali ekuzi-subsidies, okunyuswa kwerhafu, ii-tariffs kunye nokukhuthazwa nokuthengiswa kweemveliso zaseMzantsi Afrika elizweni lonke. Kulo lonke elizwekazi nakwabantu abasimeleyo kwi-Afrika yonke iphela. Kugxilwe kubalingani bezorhwebo abaphambili, abaqhubela phambili nabanenzuzo ezinkulu. Urhulumente kufuneka aqinisekise ukuba ubuncinane 50% yezixhobo zemigodi zaseMzantsi Afrika ziyenziwa kwaye ziphuhliswe apha eMzantsi Afrika. Urhulumente kufuneka aqinisekise imveliso enkulu yokutya konke okuza kusetyenziswa apha ekhaya kuveliswe kwaye kuhluzwe eMzantsi Afrika. Kuya kwenzeka kuphela ke ngokunyusa imisebenzi yezolimo kumgangatho omncinane kunye nenkxaso encwangcisiweyo enikwa bonke abalimi abancinci kuquka ekuboneleleni ngeendlela zorhwebo. Bonke abarhwebi bokutya eMzantsi Afrika kufuneka banyanzeliswe ngumthetho ukuba bathenge iimveliso zokutya zaseMzantsi Afrika kwaye baxhase imisebenzi evelisa ezemveliso zokutya. Urhulumente kufuneka ancede uluntu lwasezindaweni eziselunxwemeni ukuba uqashe amashishini kunye neenyango ezisebenza kwezobulimi bolwandle, agri-fishing, eziya kuthi ke zincedise uphuhliso, umnotho wengeniso nemisebenzi yabo eyemihla ngemihla. Urhulumente kufuneka anike amalungelo okuloba kuluntu lwasezindaweni eziselunxwemeni aze abonakalise ngokuncedisa abo bafisha khona apho emalwandleni ukuthi babasapote. Umhlaba usasekwabo ke bamhlophe abawathathayo before u-1994 kwaye isithembiso kunye nenjongo yokufezekisa ulwabiwo lomhlaba lweepesenti eziwu-30 ngo-2014 zange yenzeke loo nto. Ukuxothwa kwabalimi kumafama akususwanga kwabantu, ukususwa
Honorable Mathulelwa,
kwizinto.
your time has expired.
Oh, siyayirejecta ke le budget. Thank you.
Siyabonga. I will now recognize Honorable Nkosi Luthuli.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The IFP acknowledges the importance of the Department in restoring inclusive economic growth, empowering to the entrepreneurs and tackling the issue of unemployment, particularly among these youth, women, and people living in the rural and township areas. Especially its expenditure is expected to increase by 5.6% annually. This upwards adjustment is welcome. However, the increase must be matched by the effective delivery and measurable impact. A portion of this budget is earmarked to transfers and subsidies, mainly channeled through the new implementing agency, the Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency. While the consolidated of a seed safer and SEDA into a SECFA, it is promising step towards a more streamlined and accessible support structures. Questions remain about the agent's readiness to deliver, particularly in underserved communities. While acknowledging the importance of this allocation, we remain concerned about the effectiveness and reach of the programs. Are they truly accessible to informal traders in Lusigisigi, to a woman-owned cooperative in a rural KwaZulu-Natal, or a young-run startup in the deep rural area of Mpumalanga? Many SMMEs complaining about delay, limited outreach, and a lack of follow-through once the support is promised. The budget must not only spend it must be spent on the ground. We must further ask whether the current administrative and finance mechanism with the SEFA and SEDA are efficient and transparent enough to ensure that the funds released are resulting in a tangible outcome, not just paperwork. We welcome the continuous support of the programs such as the Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Program and Branded Finance Initiative. Local enterprise should not need to travel long distances to access support. The department must work close with the municipality and the traditional leaders so that ensure that the resources is distributed equitable and efficient. We believe that the small business are not just become units. They are engines of the dignity and self-determination. It is our collective duty to equip them with more than just promising. While the IFP supports the budget vote, we do so with caution and with a call of accountability. A shrinking budget must not translate into a shrinking impact. The IFP urges the department to ensure that every rand spent,
Nkosuluthuli, your time is expired.
I support them.
Thank you. Honorable Ngobeni. Honorable members, you are provided a seat here. So when you know that you are next, you don't have to run from where you are seated.
Thank you for the reprimand, Honorable Chair. You know, we are creatures of habit. Honorable Chairperson and members of the House, ActionSA supports budget vote 36 on small business. I think it's very clear that small businesses are the heartbeat of our economy. As a member of an organization started by one of South Africa's most prolific entrepreneurs, it would be remiss of us not to support efforts that are trying to assist small businesses. And so we are pleased with the developments that are happening in the development so far, albeit that we will do our best to ensure that whatever happens in that sector actually does benefit the people of South Africa. A country that strangles its small businesses strangles its future. Today, we must speak plainly about the cancer eating away at township and rural economies. The uncontrolled mushrooming of unregulated foreign-owned spaza shops, many of which operate outside our laws, really cannot be tolerated, honorable members. The clarion call for spaza for locals will never wane. As ActionSA, we will never waver in our continued pressure to have illegal immigration and the pressure placed across areas in our society that includes the total takeover of our township and rural economy. This activity cannot come at the expense of our own citizens. It's high time that our citizens are prioritized, particularly those who were previously disadvantaged. They were disregarded by the previous regime of apartheid. They cannot be continually disregarded by this democratic government. The law demands that a foreigner must invest a minimum of 5 million rand to operate a business in South Africa. Yet who is policing this 5 million rand? Who is checking this compliance? We've asked many times without clear answer. The reality is that our people are forced to compete unfairly in their own backyards. You cannot talk about economic freedom while South African entrepreneurs are buried under illegal competition and impossible bureaucracy. If we truly want this vote to mean something, we must tear down the red tape strangling startups. We've been speaking about this ad nauseum. It is time that we actually tackled the problem of red tape. From business registration to access to finance, every piece of unnecessary bureaucracy is another nail in the department's efforts to resolve these issues. It should be the engine room that unlocks township and rural revitalization. Put simply, honorable members, we must prioritize South Africans. We cannot say this enough. If we fail, we will condemn another generation to joblessness while the connected few thrive. Let us make this vote work for the hustlers, the dreamers, the entrepreneurs who refuse to give up on our country. Because when small business thrives, our communities thrive too. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. I will now recognize the Honorable Deputy Minister of Small Business Development.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister of the Department of Small Business Development, members of the Portfolio Committee of Small Business Development, Director General and Senior Managers of the Department, the Chairperson of the Board of our entity, SETFA, officials and members of the entity. Ladies and gentlemen, the Government of National Unity is hard at work in our effort to oversee transversal support within the small business ecosystem and to provide a conducive environment. The department's focus on reducing regulations remains a significant focal area. Urgent action is needed to remove all pieces of legislation that hinders entrepreneurship and economic growth, and time is not on our side. According to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor 2023, small business startups in South Africa face exceptionally difficult circumstances. About 40% fail in the first year, 60% by year 2, and up to 90% within 10 years. Behind these figures are real individuals striving to make a living while navigating obstacles. Chairperson, we cannot continue with business as usual, and we cannot possibly continue doing things we've always done, yet expect different results. Heavy regulatory burden remains one of the greatest challenges facing small businesses today. Compliance remains a slow, complex, and costly process, especially for small businesses trying to get off the ground. South Africa ranks a disappointing 84th in the Global Ease of Doing Business Index. Chairperson, this is not just a number. It reflects the frustration of entrepreneurs battling red tape instead of building their businesses. It reflects the lost opportunities for job creation and growth in our economy. Following the 2024-2025 planning cycle, the department has prioritized the development of the red tape reduction framework, which is directly linked to outcome 2 on improved, integrated, and streamlined business processes and systems. The red tape reduction framework aims to address regulatory and administrative barriers that hinder economic development and small business growth. If we are serious about unlocking the full potential of our economy, we must act with agency. We need to streamline regulations, cut unnecessary red tape, and introduce reforms that support and not hinder business growth. Only then can we create an environment where entrepreneurship thrives and our economy begins to grow in a manner that is both inclusive and sustainable. Policies that force race-based compliance have already failed, and they have increased business failures too, and have produced the highest unemployment rate ever. Our policies must focus on enabling and not punishing economic participation and expansions. South Africans are tired of empty speeches from politicians that lack action. South Africans are going to punish us dearly if we continue to speak without action, and action that is impactful. The only way to economic growth is not to talk about red tape, is not to present elaborate plans, but to remove all unnecessary regulations and legislations that currently inhibit business growth and employment growth. The red tape reduction framework was approved as per the 2024-25 annual performance plan, seeks to provide a coherent vision, strategic approach around which government-wide policies and programs to reduce administrative burdens, unnecessary regulations, and inefficiencies experienced by small businesses and cooperatives can be developed and implemented. Our red tape strategic framework aims to guide and entrench good regulatory practices throughout government by setting out clear principles for the effective, client-focused, and cost-effective implementation for the regulation. Chairperson, the department commenced with the consultations last year in September. Hence, we have now produced the red tape reduction framework. The department now plays a pivotal role in the red tape reduction awareness space guided by the framework. An improved business environment is essential for supporting accelerated economic growth and job creation. Regulatory reforms to alleviate regulatory burdens on small businesses and the informal sector is an area that can no longer be pushed to the back. As the 7th administration, we have put a laser focus in this area. This includes accelerating labor law reforms aimed at supporting small businesses and cooperatives. This will consider, Honorable Chairperson, issues such as the exemption of small businesses from bargaining council agreements through the finalization of the amendments to labor laws, forcing small businesses to comply with bargaining council agreements, which often set wages and working conditions suited for large firms, places an unsustainable burden on small employers. Number 2, exemption of small business from the South African Revenue Service 12-month tax clearance certificate. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy, yet they are often treated as if they have the same administrative capacity as large corporations. This requirement places an unnecessary burden on micro, small, and medium enterprises, many of which lack the resources to navigate complex compliance procedures. Number 3, unemployment insurance fund compliance. Small businesses should be building jobs, not drowning in red tape. UIF compliance is one of the major burdens they face.
Small enterprises are expected to comply with the same UIF rules and reporting processes as large corporations. This is unreliable, unaffordable, and unnecessary. It's time we stop punishing small businesses for not being big and instead build a system that helps them grow. On cooperatives, Chairperson, the United Nations last year in May declared 2025 as the International Year of Cooperatives. We have set thematic areas for ourselves in advocating this campaign. Cooperatives hold the power to uplift communities out of poverty. However, Chairperson, I must emphasize that cooperatives must be market-driven, sustainable, and accountable. Cooperatives must not become vehicle for political patronage. The support given to cooperatives must be based on merit, transparency, and impact, not political connection. The culture of grant-reliant cooperatives that are set up to fail must come to an end. Public funds must be used to build real businesses, not short-term projects. Studies indicate that more than 80% of registered cooperatives in South Africa become inactive or collapse within a few years. Cooperatives must be embedded in our township and rural economy strategies, always with a focus on sustainability and results. Our economic transformation must be rooted in reality and driven by the results. It doesn't matter the amount of sound that people make in portfolio committees or the loud noises they bring. That will not bring change to the small businesses of our country. We must strengthen monitoring and evaluation of cooperatives that were funded by our agency, Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency. Without monitoring and evaluation, we are working backwards. To effectively position businesses to play a meaningful role in the economy, the department will implement the following interventions, which is aimed at promoting the sustainability and growth of micro and small medium enterprises and cooperatives over the medium term. The National Integrated Small Enterprise Strategic Framework, NISET strategic framework, is aimed at pushing policies that are in the best interest of micro, small, and medium enterprises. Cooperative strategy, Honorable Chairperson, this strategy will ensure that our cooperatives get the funding that they need. The Department Cooperative Development Support Program is intended to support cooperatives enterprises. Through this program, the department will seek to support 50 cooperatives financially. The National Informal Business Upliftment Strategy. The National Informal Business Upliftment Strategy seeks to uplift informal businesses within the informal economy. For the 2025-2026 financial year, 2,000 informal businesses will be supported through the Informal and Micro Enterprise Development Program. As government, we recognize the importance of informal businesses in driving economic growth, creating jobs, and supporting livelihoods, especially in townships and rural areas. We must do everything in our power to integrate the informal sector into the broader economy. Providing financial and non-financial support to informal and micro enterprises is an imperative, particularly in townships and rural areas. We will assist informal businesses to become sustainable and formalize over time. Chairperson, as I conclude, we are serious about unlocking economic growth, reducing unemployment, and building a more inclusive society. We will place small businesses at the heart of our policy agenda. The small businesses are not just backbone of our economy. They are the engines of innovation, resilience, and opportunity. The time for rhetoric is over. The time for decisive action is now. And the time for the noisemakers that are unable to do anything has come to an end. The builders will separate from the breakers. They pretend to care, but they are determined to break this country. And while they make noise when we speak, while they make noise in portfolio committees, while they continue with the noise, the department is continuing with the work. While they continue with
Honorable
the
Deputy
work,
Minister, your
the
time has
department
expired.
continue with the work, and we will not be deterred. This department will achieve its targets. Thank you very much.
I will now recognize Honorable Tring. Honorable members, let's give an opportunity to a member on the podium.
Honorable House Chairperson, the ACDP acknowledges that the small business sector employs between 50 to 60% of the South African workforce. This foundational sector therefore plays a critical role in addressing high youth unemployment and promoting economic inclusion, especially in the underserved areas of South Africa. The ACDP notes that the 25-26 budget allocates some 2.9 billion, with significant increases in development finance sector and market support and township enterprise promotion. Despite these allocations, however, we remain concerned about persistent implementation failures, most notably the non-performance of the Asset Assist Program and a staggering 1 trillion SMME credit gap. This department has seen a decade of stagnation, with annual growth in the sector crawling at 1.6%. And despite the billions allocated, outcomes are often opaque, where neither beneficiaries nor impacts are clearly accounted for. While well-intentioned interventions have attempted to redress historical injustices, government-led funding has all too often been undermined by political interference. Though the department claims to have supported over 165,000 SMMEs, the ACDP asserts that the credibility of these figures is questionable. It is evident that structural reforms are needed. Fixing electricity supply, removing antagonistic policies, reducing crime, and streamlining bureaucracy to enable business success. Anomalies like the department's silence on the Spaza Shop Support Fund are troubling, especially after revelations that just 6% of Spaza shops are owned by South Africans. This demands urgent transformation. The 500 million fund, if ethically managed, could position Spaza shops as South African-owned digital and cooperative hubs, driving local development and digital inclusion throughout the country. The ACDP supports the appointment of an ombud for the Small Enterprise Ombud Service, and as kingdom builders committed to the future of South Africa, the ACDP believes that this department would be better placed under DTIC. We understand the importance of the sector and recommend the supporting of small businesses by promoting a culture of entrepreneurship through mentoring and startup funding, skills development and training. And to augment this, we recommend the creating of an enabling environment, a professional public service, quality education and vocational training relevant to global trends and technology advances. With reservations mentioned and in support of the small business sector, the ACDP will support this vote. Thank you.
The next member is of the UDM. Is there a member of the UDM? Rise Mzansi, Honorable Ghana. BOSA, Honorable Ghana, thank you.
That's Amul. We saw those that were sleeping yesterday, so let me not get there. Now, can some trauma stool? So this morning, I want to rise for the entrepreneur. I want to rise for small business owner who has taken the risk, often with little more than an idea, determination, and borrowed capital, to start something of their own. These are brave South Africans who do not wait for opportunity, they create it. As Rise Mzansi, we exist to build a safe, prosperous, equal, and united South Africa in one generation. And we know that no prosperous nation has ever been built without a thriving small business sector. Entrepreneurs and SMMEs are not just job seekers, they are job creators, they are innovators, they are builders of the kind of economy that lifts people out of poverty and restores dignity to families. That is why when we look at this budget, we look at it through the lens of whether it contributes to economic growth and job creation. Because what the people of South Africa need, the South Africans, above everything else, is jobs. So today we are considering a budget that's just under 3 billion rands that's aimed to support and promote SMMEs and entrepreneurship. We do welcome this, but we must also say this clearly. And we accept that a budget alone, no matter the size, will never be enough. We must equally be honest that the real issue is not only the quantum of the budget, but also where it is being spent. Entrepreneurs and small businesses do not just wait for or want handouts of 10,000 here, 15,000 rand that I've mentioned before. They deserve real support. Infrastructure, access to markets, mentorship, patient capital, that is the long game. They want a government that backs those who are taking risk, not those that are simply seeking a monthly income. We also know, and research has backed this, Minister, that businesses that are started by individuals with work experience have a higher chance of success, of succeeding, creating jobs and contributing meaningfully to economic growth. So the goal must be clear for this department. It has to be job creation. We must ensure that every rand that is allocated, every policy that this department proposes and every program that it implements, it must move us closer to building a prosperous South Africa. And as I said, let us rise. Let's rise for the entrepreneur, for the small business owner, and for the people of South Africa, the South Africans, to get jobs.
The next member is from BOSA, Honorable Slazo Webster.
Thank you, Chair. Madam Speaker, South Africa is a country that is in a crisis, an unemployment epidemic that rivals war-torn regions. We are in desperate need of economic lifelines, and these are lifelines that small businesses in South Africa could and should provide, if only they weren't being suffocated by a department that is out of touch, that is out of ideas, and that is quite frankly out of time. And perhaps, Honorable Chair, let me address the Minister directly, if you'll allow, since she, in her opening debate, addressed me. I am fully familiar with the law, perhaps more familiar than the Minister is with its actual implementation. And until the institutions that are supposed to serve entrepreneurs, which the Minister referred to, until those institutions work for entrepreneurs that are in Tembisa, Khayelitsha, Inanda, and Ntuzuma, KwaMashu, will continue to hold the Minister accountable, because, Minister, that is also our responsibility as mandated by the law. So let's make sure that we know that it's been 1,400 days since the Minister took office, and under her leadership, the Department of Small Business Development has become a revolving door of recycled strategies, political appointments, and bureaucratic failure. Access to capital remains a nightmare for entrepreneurs. According to the department's own estimates, small businesses contribute over 60% of private sector jobs, yet their survival rate is collapsing. More than half of South African small businesses fail within the first 2 years, not due to lack of ambition, but due to lack of support, capital, and operating space. Only 6% of SMMEs in this country access formal credits, and less than 2% receive government funding. There's still red tape from municipal bylaws and other bureaucratic structures, and late payments by government remain the leading cause of businesses closing in South Africa. In townships, it's worse because over 70% of businesses operate informally with limited business infrastructure, no bulk supply chains, and no coordinated support. Meanwhile, the department offers the same copy and paste strategies every year that have been implemented for the past 20 years. We need clear, measurable outcomes
In the department's plans, we need indicators that track how many businesses are formalized and how many jobs are actually created per program. We need real implementation of the Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Program with clear localization targets and procurement integration. Finally, we must stop treating all businesses the same and diversify the strategies for the economy. We reject this report because you can't keep doing the same thing and hope for a different outcome. I thank you.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, I will call on the next speaker. I will just call on the minister, please, that you attend to the speakers that's addressing you while you are on your phone, please. Thank you. The ANC, Honorable Molotsane.
Thank you, Chair. Micro, small and medium enterprises are often referred as the backbone of economy because of their potential to thrive, inclusive development and create employment at the grassroots level. According to data from International Labour Organization, MSMEs account for about 70% of total employment worldwide, while proves that as a country to recover from structural economic challenges and global shocks, investing in MSMEs has become more important than ever. MSMEs play a significant role in stimulating economic activity by contributing to GDP. In South Africa, MSME contributes over 30% to the GDP and employ roughly 60% of the labor force in the private sector. MSMEs also serve as a crucial vehicle to the economic empowerment of historically marginalized groups, especially those in township and rural areas. Township economy is an integral part of MSMEs. It is estimated to have a market value of 900 billion. This economy presents a powerful and underutilized engine for growth, employment, and poverty reduction. Since its funding, the development of small business development has created and supported a number of laws and policies aimed at removing structural obstacles to the expansion of MSMEs and creating an atmosphere that is more supportive. Some of the laws and policies that were created are National Integrated Small Enterprise Development Master Plan, the MSMEs and Cooperative Funding Policy, and the amendment of the National Small Enterprise Act. These laws and policies have been enabled to guide the development of a coherent and integrated approach across government and stakeholders in supporting MSMEs. Despite these laws and policies, MSMEs still face a challenge of a lack of funds. Access to finance is one of the most crucial factors for the success, survival, and growth of the businesses. Both startups and already established enterprises require funding at different stages of their development. Startups often operate without stable cash or proven business models. This makes traditional financial institutions reluctant to lend them. Yet it is precisely these emerging businesses that drive innovation, disrupt stagnant industries, and open up new markets. Bridging the funding gap for startups ensures that entrepreneurial ideas with potential can be nurtured into scalable businesses. In an attempt to bridge the gap between startups and already established enterprises, the department has introduced a range of initiatives aimed at fostering entrepreneurship, addressing barriers to entry, and proving both financial and non-financial support to MSMEs. These initiatives include the National Informal Business Upliftment Strategy and the Certified Incubation Program. As the ANC, we are satisfied with the progress of this department because MSMEs are crucial to our South African economy. The ANC 55th National Conference even agreed that solutions such as more funding to MSMEs is required to address the unjust lack of access to financing to women and youth-owned business. The budget vote highlights that Program 2 of the budget vote is sector policy and research. Within the department, sector policy and research plays a strategic and fundamental role in advancing the growth and competitiveness of MSMEs. This program ensures that interventions are informed by research and tailored to the unique challenge and opportunities of such sector. By identifying high growth, Program 2 enables the government to channel support where it is most likely to reduce sustainable growth and job creation. One of the most significant contributions of Program 2 is its role in market development. Many SMMEs struggle to access formal markets due to structural barriers such as lack of compliance certification, limited product development support, and exclusion from supply chains. Program 2 addresses these challenges by developing localization and supply development strategies. In addition, Program 2 strengthens MSMEs' ability to participate in international markets. Through sectoral research and collaboration with trade and investment agencies, the program helps identify export-ready MSMEs, assist them in meeting international standards. This is particularly crucial in globalized economy, where the ability to scale beyond national borders determines competitiveness and loan sustainability. The total funding for Program 2 is 82 million. As the ANC, we support this budget vote. Thank you, Chair.
Any speaker of the ATM? Al Jamal? The NCC? The UAT? And good. The next speaker of the Freedom Front Plus is Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think it is clear that the development of small businesses is crucial for the future of South Africa. Of course, not only of South Africa, of any economy in the world, where small business ventures is actually the place where the future of business leaders, even government leaders, come from. But the fact that it is important and that it is crucial does not mean that the state needs a finger in the pie. There are some things which the state should just not meddle with, or as little as possible. This is not a general statement. The other department which budget is discussed today is that of environmental, forestry, fisheries, and the environment. And there the state has to intervene because it has to deal with the interests of upcoming generations, of people who are not there to speak for themselves. But when it comes to small business, I'd like to quote Masanobu Fukuoka. Very difficult to pronounce for me as I'm not Japanese speaking. He is a pioneer of an agricultural movement called the One Straw Revolution. And he said he gets up every morning asking himself, what can I today refrain from doing? Now, the centralized state, the state which calls itself a developmental state, which is just another word of saying the socialist state, doesn't have the ability to stand up and say, can we refrain from doing something? It wants to have a finger in every pie. Now, if we compare the new Small Enterprise Development Finance Agency, which is a combination of the old SEDA and the Small Enterprise Finance Agency and the Cooperative Banks Development Agency, and we compare that to the old Small Business Development Corporation, which now operates as business partners, it is clear that the second one is much more efficient with the funds that it expends in terms of job creation, in terms of the development of entrepreneurs. Now, the history of that is that it was a joint venture between the private and the public sector, in which the private sector approached government and saying, for every rand that you put in, we'll put in a rand, but we want to manage it. And that was the old mentorship process, and it was managed by the private sector as, let's say, guardians for upcoming small businesses. And that was the cheapest way in which to create viable job opportunities in history. In the new dispensation, this SBDC, the KSOK in Afrikaans, was split between business partners, of which the private sector is the sole shareholder now, and then SEDA, of which the state, this department, is a shareholder. It's clear, if you look at the track record, where the success lies. In cooperative banks, that's also an important possible potential sector of banking, which does not come to its full potential exactly because of too much regulation. This department, in fact, should cease to exist in order to promote small-scale business development. I thank you.
The DA, Honorable Singh.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, Honorable Members. It is apt that we meet on International Day for Small Business to debate Vote 36, the Department of Small Business Development, at a time when South Africa urgently needs economic revival. With unemployment at crisis levels, particularly among the youth, our economy cannot recover without bold, targeted support for MSMEs, the backbone of job creation in our country. If we are serious about building an inclusive economy, we must act decisively to reform the policies and practices that hold entrepreneurs back. Chairperson, the DA believes in redress and empowerment. As stated in the National Development Plan, we must reduce inequality, create jobs, and expand entrepreneurial opportunity. To drive meaningful change, we must align our support with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals such as SDG 1, poverty eradication, SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, SDG 10, reduced inequality, and SDG 9, inclusive industrialization, which would give us an outcomes-based framework for meaningful empowerment and unlock growth and jobs for all South Africans. That is why, Chairperson, I must particularly welcome the Portfolio Committee's adoption of the recommendation that I sponsored to remove BBBEE requirements for MSMEs and instead align support mechanisms with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. While well-intentioned, BBBEE compliance has become a barrier for growth rather than a bridge, especially for small businesses. Chairperson, let me continue by touching on collective bargaining agreements. These agreements were designed for well-resourced formal sector employers, yet they are automatically extended to MSMEs, many of which operate in survival mode. This is unaffordable and unfair and destroys jobs rather than protecting them. I therefore welcome the Portfolio Committee's adoption of the recommendation I sponsored, calling on the Minister to conclude a memorandum of agreement with the relevant cabinet ministers to end the automatic extension of collective bargaining agreements to MSMEs. Instead, small businesses should comply with the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, which provides adequate worker protection while allowing the flexibility essential for small business survival. Chairperson, I welcome a long overdue development. For the first time, the department has included jobs created and jobs sustained as performance targets in its annual performance plan. I have advocated for this since the beginning of our term. Another area in urgent need of reform is the department's continued funding of underperforming incubators and intermediaries. While support structures for MSMEs are vital, the current model is not producing scalable results. Many incubators continue to underperform, yet funding continues and even more are being proposed. The department must benchmark against global best practices and restructure these programs with measurable outcomes, timelines, and accountability. Intermediaries help extend the department's footprint, especially in underserved areas, but they must show real impact, not just activity. Lastly, Chairperson, we cannot ignore the crisis at local government level, where numerous municipalities are undermining national support efforts. Electricity and water disruptions, infrastructure failures, and permit delays are not minor inconveniences. They are the difference between survival and failure for many small businesses. The department must work with COCTA and Treasury to ensure that local government becomes a partner, not a saboteur in driving economic growth. A case in point is Amdoni municipality in KwaZulu-Natal, where I live. Not long ago, the municipality was closed for 3 months. During this period, no services were rendered, refuse piled up, and the air was filled with the stench of uncollected rubbish. Yet, the municipality continued billing residents and businesses for refuse collection. To make matters worse, the political leadership saw it fit to purchase brand new BMWs and proposed a 100% increase in refuse tariffs for the upcoming year. After public outcry, this was reduced to 33.33%, but they still refused to be transparent about how these tariffs were calculated. These are just some of the many service delivery failures that are suffocating small businesses and destroying jobs, yet the same leadership remains in place. If such failures are allowed to continue unchecked, no national program, no matter how well designed, will deliver the impact we hope for. In conclusion, Chairperson, this budget vote must reflect on a new sense of urgency by removing what does not work, improving what can be fixed, and empowering the entrepreneurs already driving value in our economy to unlock the potential of MSMEs to reduce unemployment, stimulate growth, and build a better South Africa. I thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your birthday, Honorable Singh. The next speaker is the ANC, Honorable Malamatia.
Thank you, House Chair, Honorable Minister, all DMs in the House, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, honorable members. I'm told even the staff, some are here. Of more important, you fellow South Africans, the ANC support this budget vote. Standing here today to take part, I feel like being summoned to come and address the 3 wounded tigers in the country. The first one will be those who don't master the participation in a system where collective is the order of the day. You arrive, you are told this is the way of behaving. You do contrary. When you are shown the door, you think a political statement, 48 hours can do anything. 48 hours will become 84 hours and nothing will happen. In the GNU, there's one leader, Cyril Ramaphosa, we all obey. Politics are not like football. It can't be correct that you think that this season, this player has played so well. Next season, you go and buy that particular player, you think you'll play and win the trophy. The MK should have learned a lesson that the exchange of Floyd was a serious suicide. He has damaged them. Today we know that in politics, others can bewitch each other through the head. You don't buy a revolutionary reader and think that you will do your best. And as I speak, the wounded tigers cannot move because there's another press conference we are going to be told that Above 7 million, there's another million that is gone. And it's for the first time I see the EFF, they are laughing because they knew and they warned that don't buy this player is so dangerous. We have rejected him, not promoted him. Out, Chairperson. In today's fast-changing global economy, entrepreneurs and business development are increasingly recognized as the key drivers of economic growth and job creation. In innovation, however, the success of the business, especially micro, medium enterprises, depend greatly on the environment in which they operate, which we call it the development ecosystem. If we don't take this opportunity, you'll think everybody in the portfolio committee understand what we're doing. CIFA, CEDA is now CIDFA. So it is all over the country. If you go to Guyana, you'll find their offices. You go to Freystad, you'll find their offices. Northwest, you'll find their offices. Offices cannot be just behind your own house. Therefore, MK, you have to take a little walk to that office and be served. So we can't bring offices like yourself, Makelwa. So we are doing all this because we understand that over millions of people in Africa, they depend on this. And therefore, it will be very important as the caring government, the African National Congress, that we ensure that we carefully monitor and evaluate to ensure that they meet the need of the entrepreneur, contribute meaningfully and the national development goal. So even a very serious problem after all of us who have suffered the apartheid and its leaders, there are people who can still come and doubt the triple BEE and go to an extent that they can, just by mere being invited to participate in the GNU, they can come and want to change. That is the dream they will never see. It is here to stay and it will continue. Reason being that if you listen, because they are not mastering the collective, they talk of I. In the portfolio committee, if you raise a person and a second, it becomes a portfolio committee resolution, not a DA resolution. Therefore, these lessons we are giving them for free so that they must not continue having this kind of chameleon tactics. You are in the very portfolio committee, you come here, we have agreed on the budget vote, you want to behave as if or speak as if you are not going to support. Come end of the sentence, you support the budget vote. You are confusing the players out there. It can't be correct that the DM, when he thinks that maybe things are not speed up in that she wants to become the minister, she take the stand and grandstand and speak as if she's isolated from the team. DM will remain a DM until the end of the term, and when we come back, they are nothing. So the minister, don't ever be in any way to try and respond to those. You know that it is the portfolio committee under your leadership that is taking care of the small business entrepreneur. We can cite this, that throughout the country, we have managed to ensure that those who don't have enough capital, we are funding them, and they are happy we got the letters. Those who don't have assets, we are giving them the assets, regardless of color and everything, and they are happy they are giving us this back. So the DA is part of the portfolio committee. They are bound by the decision of the portfolio committee. They must just behave. The other misunderstanding is to not understand whether we are in a small business development or we are in law. You can't come and want to tell the minister that you know the law more than the minister. The minister is not even competing in terms of knowing the law. She's just a minister of this department. She's doing what the department requires her to do and nothing else. Therefore, BOSA, maybe you are misplaced to be part of this. In all the programs, must be clear that the most core program of the department is program number 4, which deals with the instrumental of driving transformation in all small business sectors. Ours is to ensure that the small business people, they don't remain small business people forever. They graduate and become bigger business to assist the economy of the country. It can't be correct that you are a small business this year, after a decade, we want you to graduate and become bigger business of the country so that at the end of the day, we benefit from you. as the ANC, we support this budget vote. Thank you, Sabo.
Order, please. Order, please.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Can I get order, please? There's a point of order on the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I wanted Honorable Malimacha to finish because I didn't want to suffer the blows of the speech that was given by the Democratic Alliance yesterday. But Honorable Malimacha, I'm not sure whether you work in the department or you are part of us in the oversight. I was not sure or what that was about. Thank you very much.
There is not a point of order. Honorable, do you have a point of order?
Chairperson, yes. Is the member debating now the speech?
Honorable member, I've already ruled that was not a point of order. We will continue now. Honorable, the Minister of Small Business Development.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. I thought it's important that I remind honorable members of their responsibility as they took oath in honoring the Constitution of this country with a clear preamble that goes as follows, and it will help Honorable Chance and the Deputy Minister of Small Business Development to listen to this as the lawmakers that take part on the work that we do. We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. Now, if you want to come and argue here against racial policies, it means you don't honor this Constitution. It is the Constitution that invites us and commits us as South Africans to address the imbalances or the injustices of this country. So we can't do away with legislations that seek to provide equality in everything that we're talking about. If you are in government or in law and you don't understand that, it means there's something wrong with your understanding of the responsibility that you have. Chairperson, when I came here, I did say we have disbursed 3.2 billion rands. And I've listened to members of parliament tabling their response to the budget vote. I understand that the speeches are written before I deliver the budget vote, so people will come with their own understanding, despite the facts that I table here as the people that are responsible for the department. Now, members, 300 million of the 3.2 billion went to MSMEs and co-ops in agriculture, forestry, and fisheries sector. 229 million to construction MSMEs, 261 to manufacturing, 159 million to MSMEs in transport, logistics, and storage sectors, 56 million in the food services and accommodation, 25 million to mining MSMEs. If you don't know what is focused, then I don't know what you are looking for. Because within the budget that we have, we get to split it and make sure that it's spread across the different sectors so that we can touch even if it's 2. Because you can't touch 100 when you have hands for 2. It is important that as we object to budget votes or support them, we understand what is available and therefore what can be distributed accordingly, and not to want to build pies in the sky. We have disbursed 1.5 billion to women-owned enterprises. That's sector focused. 546 million to youth-owned, 418 to township-based, and 1.65 to rural businesses. And this is what I tabled earlier, which is what we have provided to the reports that we provide to the Portfolio Committee. Of course, honorable members, I have an appreciation of the red tape that members are talking about. There are those that believe that the laws of this department are outdated. Only 11 years old, we've only passed one law. For any member of parliament to responsibly say, stand here and say the laws are outdated, only one, the National Small Enterprise Act. There's no other law that has been passed by this department. No other law. The second law is the ones that we said we are bringing here. The National Business Licensing Act, which will be bringing, which its policy has been approved to address the red tapes that are there as we see the city of Cape Town doing injustices to the people of this country, charging them about 142 rands for the informal traders only for 4 Sundays a month. And At days, they can't even trade because the space is reserved for those that have cars. There must be parking. No one that comes from that party can tell us about the justice of treating informal traders. People can come and politic here, but our entrepreneurs are not fools, and they see you for who you are. Not going to play politics with red tape. That is why I delegated the deputy minister to coordinate the work that the department does on red tape and not to manufacture new policies. This is the government. We don't work like pay as you go. We set laws based on the founding principles of our constitution, and anyone who serves in that government must respect those laws, not to come and make new policies. There's space for contestation in politics in the parties, but in government, there's no space for that. And President Ramaphosa is the only president of which all members of the executive accounts to. The collective decisions that are taken by the executive must be respected by members of the executive. In parliament, you can come and make your noise here, you fight your battles, we don't care about that. But when we do the work of small businesses, there's no time for howling, darling. We're focusing on what we do. We touch the few that we touch to make sure that the economy goes around. And yes, Honorable Chair, thank you, honorable members, for your support. Thank you, even those that rejected it. Your constituency knows that you do not have their interest. Thank you so much.
That concludes the debate and the business of this mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.